Hey everyone, Mary Jo here. I did a card pull for myself the other day, and the theme that came up was allowing. And in really thinking about what was coming up in the cards and what I was hearing from those I was working with, the conversations I'd been in, and the things that I was seeing on social media and other places, felt very much that this theme of allowing probably isn't just for me. And so I thought I would share it out. So take what resonates for you and let the rest go away or drop off. So let's go ahead and kick off. So I did a number of different cards in this pull, and I've got Sacred Geometry cards on the top by Francine Hart, and then uh, Healers of the Oracle deck by Mandy Peterson in the middle, and Listen for Joy cards by Melanie Widener at the bottom. And the card off to the left is from the Messenger cards, Guidance from the Animal Spirits by Sandra King. So those are the decks that I was using and working with. And a lot of times I will take themes that have like one card from each deck and mix then a combination of cards in one area. And this time when they came through, it very much felt that like one deck was one theme and the next deck was another theme and the next deck was another theme. So that's how I'm going to read what is here today. So the very first part that comes up is allowing. So this is a butterfly here, and this is allowing and what we can allow into our lives. We are in a space where there's lots of requests on our energy to let things go and to have new experiences, to grow into something different, to transform. And yet, to transform, to have new experiences, we do have to allow things to fall away, to drop away, to let go of those things that no longer serve us in our lives. One of the things that can really come up when we begin to move into allowing things to drop off is we begin to notice that there's this fear of letting go of, well, if I let that go, who will I be or what will I become? And this fear can set off sort of a vibration or a frequency of resistance. And that will just kind of herd us right back into what we've always done. It will move us back into our comfort zone. So allowing isn't a passive process. Allowing is a very intentional, active process, and it means that we'll probably have to overcome some fears and some worries in that process as we allow things in and out of our life. So I titled this first set as Meeting the Waves of Change. And I think you only have to look around briefly to realize that we're in a lot of change. We are in a lot of waves. And I would say most people don't feel that this is very calm change or structured change, that there's a lot of very chaotic change that is happening to us and around us in our world. And so these cards were all from the Sacred Geometry deck, and I think they speak to us of what we desire in this change and how we need to navigate it a bit. So the hexahedron is very much, it's a cube. It's a squared cube. It's a lot about earth energy and masculine energy, and it contains a lot of organization and structure. It's very defined in what it looks like. And it can feel like when we have all this chaos around us, what we really want is just an orderly process. Could we just have some structure and order? But at the same time, we're all experiencing this feeling of being boxed in. We are in a box. We just feel constrained and restricted, and we would like to be out of that box. But yet, that's also sometimes where that chaos feels like it's coming in. The middle card high tide, you can see the waves and the wind that are coming in and lots of spirals and moving through. And we tend to think of dynamic motion, things in movement, tides and air and wind as they move through. And this feels very like a peaceful space. You've got the blue sky and some nice trees, and yet it's reversed. And these energies, these waves and movements tend to speak a lot to more of the divine feminine of the planet, the divine feminine of our emotions, and that's within us. And when this card is reversed, it says, hey, you feel really out of control. Like your emotions or the world around you feel really out of control. And I think that really nails it right there, how we feel. But one of the things that's really key in this card is that we are not powerless. We are not powerless in this process. We have the capacity to learn how to go with the flow, to go with the waves, to move with the wind, to anticipate what's coming up, to be able to read the signs around us. So we are not powerless, even though we feel a bit out of control, or maybe a lot out of control right now. And so, kind of, how do we move a bit beyond that? The third slide or the third card that came up is morning meeting. And it has components of both the divine masculine and the divine feminine, and they're both energies are coming together and asking us to meet both of these energies together. The change that's happening, our desire for structure and process, our desire to not be in the box, our desire to be expansive. How do we pull all of these things in together? This card is really asking us to come into our center, to come into our essence, to come into our still point, and to be able then to think and plan and create and vision and just allow what is happening in our lives to emerge and to flow through. It's really asking us, can we hit the pause button a little bit? Can we create some time for change to integrate into us instead of just like being whipped around by the waves of change? Can we think about things we're going to have change? Can we do it in a way that helps us to use that information, to use the energies that are coming in and move forward in a way that's helpful for us? Meeting a morning meeting time, so much suggests like how do we come into a meeting time with ourselves? Is it a morning meditation? Is it morning journaling? Is it a morning walk? Is it just some time with your morning coffee or tea, taking your dogs for a walk? Whatever it is, how can we just have a little bit of time in the morning to kind of get our North Star on before we head into the day, which is gonna be probably kind of choppy and wavy for a period of time. October in itself is going to be kind of choppy, kind of wavy, kind of tumultuous, and that's going to continue out to the end of the year. So, how do we get ahead of this a little bit and again set our own North Star about where we want to go? So, these are the cards from the Oracles of the Healing deck, and they speak to me a lot of why am I here? So, what is the question that percolates why I'm here at this time, what's around my purpose, what's my identity. So, why am I here? And this first card, Forest of Fire, really speaks to our passion and our inspiration and how we're trying to create something new, the ideas that want to come up, but it's filled with mushrooms and crystals. So, things that are like in the ground or underground or have the bulk of themselves underground. And so this really opens up for me like what is underneath all of my surface stuff? What is inside of me that is beginning to want to come out? My passion, my purpose, my identity. I tend to think of like mushrooms and crystalline spaces as being quiet, as having reflection, as times for letting things come up and emerge? And can we allow some encouragement for what wants to come up in us? Can we allow some space for those to come up? It can be really busy around the seasons that we're in now, and it can be a pull and a push that we just have to fill every moment and keep doing, doing, doing. And this card invites us just to like, can we take it down a notch and allow then what is in us to have some space and time to come out? And linked with that really closely is this middle card, T of Transformation. So if the first one, though, was about maybe more our ideas and our purpose and vision sorts of things that are in us, the T of Transformation is a lot about healing. So what are the shadow things that we might have had that want to come up, whether they're in our physical, our emotional, our spiritual, our mental bodies? How can we allow those things that are deeply hidden, and maybe deeply hidden for really good reasons? How can we allow those to begin to come up in us? Not just to be transformed, some cases to be released. And so into the third card, and I don't know that this one takes a ton of explanation, going off grid. We need some time and space to allow things to come up, to emerge, to heal, to transform. And we will be benefited if we can unplug a bit, and perhaps quite a bit, from a lot of the technology that we're linked into. Can we kind of set our phone down for a while? Can we get off social media a bit? Certainly, whatever we're doing that is increasing the drama and the swirling energy in us, then those are the areas that we want to be able to maybe set aside for a little bit, to disconnect and just find some time where we are with our own heart, our own soul, and our own selves. Sometimes it's easy to say, I'm going to go off grid, I'm going to disconnect, and I'm just going to distractify. And kind of like that morning meeting of the last set of cards, this isn't just a disconnect to like float off into the ethers and let our brain go into neutral. It's really a disconnect so that we can do the inner work that wants to open up and to emerge. Because this question, why am I here? Why am I here at this time? This is really key and fundamental to what's going to be our North Star, what's going to help guide us as we're moving through this season. And then these are the Listen for Joy cards. The first card in here is called Warning. It's a hand up, a warning. If we had listened to our bones. And what this card says is we need some really honest, deep, authentic information. We need some good answers and solid stuff that we can depend on. And we're not going to find it out here. We're going to find it in the wisdom of our ancestors. We're going to find it in the wisdom that's in our marrow. We're going to find it in the wisdom that's in our heart. That's where we're going to find the information that we need. And this also says, like, we need to listen to the bones, the collective wisdom that is here. So our ancestors are a collective, and the information and the wisdom that is in our planet is a collective. And we need to heed the warnings that are coming from some of the groups in our collectives that say, we're not being heard, we're not being listened, and we're not being cared for or cared about. And in this transformation, we are being asked to make sure everybody's coming along and we're not like excluding or leaving some folks out in this. So this is a listening inside for us, but it's also When we think about our bones, when we think about the wisdom that is part of our DNA goes through our collective. These next two cards, they show up for me a whole lot. So if you've seen them together on a card reading before, I wouldn't at all be surprised. They are from two of the different decks, but they have really similar information. And time again, they just keep showing up together. So the first one is resource. And so here's this seed kind of unfurling and beginning to grow. And the seed contains everything it needs down in the center of it. It has access to what it needs to be able to grow. And resource asks us to trust that, we have what we need, either inside of us or in the universe, that we are able to unfurl and grow in this process. Provision is the one that is reversed, and it says we can't meet our needs by our own efforts alone. So we have what we need, but we can't meet our needs by our own efforts alone. We need to be in community. So together, we're better. Together, we are essential. And sometimes we might think that we're too small. We don't really deserve certain things, or maybe we shouldn't ask for certain things. And the depths of us and the universe, the resources, all say, the abundance of the earth, I'll say, ask. It is time to ask and to trust that we're going to be able to access and to receive some of the things that we need. Sometimes, and I think a recent one just came up. We drop into this scarcity mode. We think there's not enough. There's not enough. There's not enough for me. There's not enough to go around. So we might hoard. We as groups might say, "Well, we get this and you don't get that," right? So we hoard and we keep it to ourselves. We deny access to all of us. These two cards together really say, we all need to do our part. We all need to come together, but we all need to do our part. So do your part, and not more, but not less. And how do we do that? We have to come together with others in our communities and our collectives. That's really hard for the hyper independent introvert of me to get this message consistently, that I need to be able to find support and encouragement and resources and connection within community, within the collective that I'm part of. It does not mean that we need to just let everybody into our life, be an open book for all sorts of things. This will look different for everybody. So however it looks for you, allowing a little bit more of that into our lives and our space. So the whole theme is allow. How do we allow ourselves to meet the waves of change? One of the things that Chardon, my guides, oftentimes say is, you can't push the river. But we cannot push the river back. We cannot push the ocean back. We need to meet the waves of change. We need to learn how to ride those waves. Allowing ourselves to understand why we're here at this time with all of the change that's happening in the world. There is no mistake. If you are here at this time, you came here for a reason. So why are we here? What is it that's our own North Star? We really need to tap into that and find that, letting the wisdom that's in us, the knowledge that's in us, allowing that time and space to emerge and to integrate within ourselves. And then allowing ourselves to come together in community, in the collective, in a different way than perhaps we've ever done individually or ever done as a group. How do we learn that yin yang and balance of boundaries and being within? How do we be generous and caring, but also generous and caring with ourselves, and maybe even generous and caring with ourselves so we have enough in our cup to be able to pour. There's a lot that we need to learn here, or at least there's a lot that Mary Jo needs to learn here. And maybe you find that as well. So anyway, those are some themes that I'm feeling come up right now. I hope this was helpful or fun or engaging for you. And again, if something doesn't land, just let it go. And if it does, take it and keep it for yourself. Take care, everyone.